Hey everyone, and welcome to the Economics Suite, where we talk all things economics. Now, I know this is my second episode, and I was thinking maybe I can talk about some cool things that I see going on in the world and put an economic spin to it. But I noticed that there is one thing that I really think that we should go over before we start talking about, the fun stuff. And that is really, what is economics, right? What is its definition? And that's actually very important. If you don't understand the definition of it, how are you going to apply it? So think of, the example I think of is, say you're wanting to do high level mathematics, or, you want to nerd out in that world, and you're reading these very complicated algorithms, but you don't know, how to multiply, or you don't know how to divide. You're probably going to be lost. And so I want to do that with economics. So, this is actually, I think, a very, very cool part of the social science world, that there's some back and forth as to what really the definition is. And so I see a lot in the economic field that the definition will usually be defined as something along the lines of, it's a social science that studies the production, consumption, and distributions of goods and services. And it's not wrong, right? I'm thinking about this, and it's not wrong, but it's missing a very critical component, which is scarcity. And it's really important to have this mindset when you're thinking about economics, because in a world that doesn't have scarcity, you don't have to be economical. Now, what do I mean by that? So let's say you have all the money in the world. You just have it, right? You don't have to be thinking, oh, how do I budget? And that's what really economics does. It helps you budget and understand how to, in some ways, make decisions. So if you don't have scarcity, you don't have economics. So the best way to define economics I see was by this one professor from LSE, the London School of Economics. His name was Lionel Robbins. He's a great professor, very good economist. And he said that economics is the study of the use of scarce resources which have alternative uses. So one more time, the economics is the study of the use of scarce resources which have alternative uses. So then, what is scarcity? When I think of it, and everything that I've read about it, it's really the simplest definition that I can explain to all of you is that what everybody wants adds up to more than there is. So one more time, what everybody wants adds up to more than there is. Now, this actually is it's a simple concept, but sometimes gets misconstrued. So I think I'll give you a great example. I think you see in society today that a lot of folks say rich people don't experience scarcity. It's to a different level, but it's still there. That concept of scarcity is still there. So let's think of an example here. Let's look at real estate. Let's say there is a new real estate development happening, and 50 houses are being built there. Let's say the only way you can get into that community is if you're a millionaire. Now, there are a lot of millionaires in the United States, and these folks now all have to do competitive bids, right? But there are only 50 houses. So the real estate agent is going to take the most money from each one, and there are going to be 50 people now living there. Now, what about all the other folks? They didn't get what they want, right? They wanted to live in that community. They wanted to live in that nice new house that was built in this nice new area, but they didn't get what they wanted. Yet, remember what I said, these folks are millionaires. So technically, they're in the top 1% of the world in some ways, but they're still unhappy. So that concept of scarcity still exists. It's just in different levels and in different ways that you're looking at it. So that's one area of economics. But there's also another one, which I think is very, very interesting. And this deals with productivity, right? Now, how would I think of this? In the most simple version that I can think of, it just means you're producing outputs from scarce resources. So you are basically just studying the consequences of decisions that are made usually from the use of different resources. So again, just think about maybe labor, land, capital, and other resources that go into producing a certain output of something. And these decisions as to how things are produced are actually quite important. So this is also a very, very cool example. And sorry, I get very excited about this stuff, but it's very, very cool. Um, Again, so productivity, what's a good showing of how certain decisions, economic decisions, can be done? So let's look at oil production. You have the United States and Venezuela. The United States produces the most amount of oil than any other country in the world. Yet, in terms of oil reserves and how much oil we actually have on land, we only have about 2% of all the oil in the world. Yet, Venezuela has the most amount of oil that has been untapped in the world, but they don't make the top 20% or the top 20 countries in terms of productivity. So you can see, right, there's that difference as to how that's happening. And that's the concept of productivity. And that's very, very important in economics. So as we kind of go on thinking about what is economics and what it really is about, think of these two important concepts, right? One, it's scarcity, that there's always going to be scarcity, and that no matter what everybody wants adds up to more than there is. And on the other hand, you are looking at productivity. And so again, really think about the, the decisions that are made and the consequences of those decisions to be able to say, how are we going to produce something from a certain resource? So that's economics, the definition of it, the basics of it. And I think we can maybe get into something more fun moving forward. But yeah, we'll see. This will actually be a very, very fun thing to look into. But I'm excited for it. And I hope that this helps you understand the future of how we'll be thinking about economic trends. And yeah, let's get on it.